This is a skit on the Thomas Hart Benton chapter from the book Profiles in Courage. We begin in the chambers of the United States Senate, where a burly, black-haired senator was speaking to a nearly empty chamber in 1850. Those who remained saw his great muscles tighten and his sweeping shoulders become icily erect.
Mr. President, sir, I never quarrel, sir, but sometimes I fight, sir. Whenever I fight, sir, a funeral follows, sir.
No one regarded this as an idle boast, as he has not killed a man since his early days in Missouri.
When asked about my tough skin, I always say the gladiators did, sir. Why, sir, if I were to touch you with that brush, you would cry murder. Nobody opposes me.
As the campaign for legislature, which would consider his re-election, began in 1844, Benton broke sharply with his state and party by engineering the defeat of the treaty for the annexation of Texas. He won his election and was to serve once more. In 1847, Benton opposed his party and state on the Oregon expansion issue. Benton and John Calhoun argue over which side the Senate should favor.
As I look around, all I see is a worried Senate. Here I have a resolution to our problem of slavery. I insist that Congress should not interfere with the development of slavery in the territories.
Can't you all see what is going on here? These resolutions were nothing but firebrands intended for electioneering and disunion purposes, under which to provide slave states to unite not only as a section, but behind the presidential candidacy of Calhoun himself.
Come on, that is complete anarchy. I call for an immediate vote.
Mr. President, we have some business to transact, and I do not intend to avoid business for a string of abstractions.
I certainly suppose the senator of Missouri, a representative of a slaveholding state, would have supported these resolutions.
Gentlemen, please sit down. This is the House of Law. Mr. Benton, as you are.
Senator knows very well from my whole course in public life that I would never leave public business to take up firebrands to set the world on fire.
Then I shall know where to find the gentleman.
I shall be found in the right place, on the side of my country and the Union.
In 1848, the slavery issue split the Democratic Party at its convention. Benton denied the importance of the issue and refused to support either camp actively. He was now a man with no party, a politician without a recognized platform, and a senator without constituency. As the contest for state legislature that would name his successor raged in Missouri, Senator Benton stood fast at by his post in Washington, outspoken to the end of his condemnation of the views his constituents now embraced. He now brainstorms within his quarters.
I must do something about this pro-slavery camp, but here I am, isolated from all my political friends in the West and the South. I must prepare an attack on Clay's Compromise and his Fugitive Slave Act.
We now return to the chambers of the Senate in Washington, D.C., where Senator Henry Foote speaks to a full room. During the course of the year, yet another melodramatic event termed the greatest indignity the Senate had ever suffered served to show the bitter feeling of the South towards Benton.
Now I know I am to be suspected of tampering with Mr. Benton's loss in Missouri, but these are just all rumors where no evidence can be provided. Mr. Benton is just a man who is shielded by his own age and shielded by his own established cowardice.
Stop this right now. If the Senate fails to protect me from such false and cowardly attacks, I shall intend to protect myself by any means necessary.
You need to sit down, old man. There's no place for you here anymore.
I have no pistol. Let him fire. Let the assassin fire.
No one fired. The Senate was shocked, although its special committee barely was able to take control of the situation. No lives were lost that day. Senator Benton returns to Missouri to grieve his loss in the hands of the South. 4 years later, Benton was soundly defeated for re-election in 1854 and grieved the death of his beloved wife. Benton was not yet ready to submit. He sought for re-election to the Senate in 1855, and at the age of 74, made one last hopeless race for governor in 1856. Benton decided it was time to leave the Senate, so he stood before his constituents and gave his final remarks.
As my last report to all my fellow constituents as a senator, I would like to say that I value solid popularity in the esteem of good men for good action. I despise the bubble popularity that is won without merit and lost without crime. I have been senator for 30 years now, and I sometimes had to act against the preconceived opinions and first impressions of my constituents, but always with full reliance upon their intelligence to understand me and their equity to do me justice, and I have never been disappointed.
Benton's son, Jesse, revealed that his father suffered from throat cancer and struggled to make his speeches without ending in pure agony. Yet he traveled all over the country on a speaking tour to defeat the Whig and anti-Benton parties. He worked until he could no more, and on his deathbed, his last words were,
I am comfortable, I am content.
The end.